Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. We're going to follow some great music with some great comedy here. My buddy Joe DeRosa is back. His new CD, You Will Die. Yes, is out. There it is. Please welcome back to the show, Joe DeRosa. What's up, man?
Thank you, man. It's so good to be here. How you doing?
So why such an upbeat name? I love it, but why such an upbeat
Well, you know, usually I'm such a ray of sunshine. I don't know why I would.
You really are. Like, it's like Mary Poppins coming in.
It's just, I'm obsessed with the idea of dying. I worry about it a lot. There's material on there about dying. And it
I
just,
am too. Don't you think everybody should? People who aren't fascinate me.
You know what I noticed, and it's just funny, is that people that are afraid of dying, like you or me, have no problem talking about it and joking about it.
Yeah.
People that don't worry about it get weird when you joke
offended.
about
Like, whoa,
it.
come on.
Exactly. Which means they're just suppressing it.
Sure.
You know. So.
Sure. Well, I don't know how you again, it's like, again, I'll be 46 October 11th, and, you know, look, I'm just going to play the odds here. I probably won't make it to 90. And which means, of course, I got less ahead of me than I do in back of me. And you go like, wow, like, and that is that. And you look back at what you did with yourself, and I'm like, my God, like, just not dignified at all, you know.
It's... I hit a point with, I love my parents very much, but we're a very loud family.
Yes, mine as well.
Arguing and yelling. And a lot of shut up.
Yeah, guess what? Mine as well. I know that's a surprise.
This was a common exchange between me and my mom growing up. I'd literally, like Ralph Cram did, I'd be like, you know, I'd just like to just punch you right in the... And she would go, you and what army? Bring it on. It was sick. So
you and your mother would threaten physical punishment on each other.
Yeah. I mean, there were times when it was like, somebody was like, we promise the cops won't come. I'd be like, all right, let's go out back. But I said to her recently, I go, we're way past the halfway mark. I'm like, we're just never going to not yell at each other all the time.
Well, that's going to, I mean, I got me and my mother sometimes try to call the truce. That's not going to happen.
You can't. And do you ever try to, this is what I've been trying to do recently. I said, Mom, maybe we just have to not think of it as such a heavy thing like we're fighting. We're just loud. We have to look at it like that.
We're loud people.
We're never not going to do that.
Right.
You know?
My mother literally named my first book, Too Fat to Fish. She screamed that at me for hours, because she was afraid I'd drown if I went fishing one morning. And the whole neighborhood heard it. Like, you are too fat to fish, too fat. And she didn't realize how poetic that sounded. And when I made a little money, I started a corporation and named my corporation that. And it was on the checks, and I made the book. But yeah, at the top of her lungs, not seeing why. What's wrong with trying to save your son's life? I don't see how that's embarrassing. And she did. I mean, I had a call. I was 22 years old at the time, okay, living at home. And I'm working as a longshoreman at the port in Newark. And my boss, foreman, big tough guy, says, we're going fishing tomorrow. It was a Friday. And he tells me this at happy hour. I'm like, 5:30, half an hour deep into happy hour. I'm ossified, just blood alcohol level of 9.8. And, you make those drunken promises. Fishing, let's fish, And the next week, I'll pick you up at, 6 a.m.
Right.
The next morning at 5:45, I'm like, and I wake up, and of course my mother's vacuuming before she goes to work, which is what else does an Italian woman do?
Right.
She's like, casually, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going fishing. What? You'll die. You can't fish. You're disgusting. You are too fat to fish. And I had to call this tough foreman and go, my mother won't let me go fishing. And I fell asleep. I woke up again at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She made me a mozzarella omelet. It was the best time I ever had in my life. But yeah, it's like and you're from Philly, so you're Philly Italian.
It's just so loud.
I'm North Jersey Italian, same thing.
The last big fight I got into with my mom was, it started in a Wegmans supermarket.
That's a great basis for any argument.
Well, here's why. Because a guy parked in the fire lane outside and just got out of his car in front of me. I was driving behind him with my mom and my dad. He just gets out of his car and goes in the Wegmans.
Right.
And I'm honking like, what are you doing? You're blocking the lane. And he's laughing, just being a jerk. So I wait for him outside. And I go, why are you parking here? And he goes, your breath smells. Shut up. And he drives off.
Oh, God.
I got so mad I ran across the parking lot. And I'm screaming at him, trying to cut his car off. And he's trying to drive by me. So I punched his window. So he stopped. And he starts threatening me. And I don't know how to fight.
Oh, I know. You got to be.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Sometimes when you yell, then when you realize you got to back it up.
Yeah.
John could probably do it, but,
I've never had experiences like this. I've never fought with my mom. Not once.
Well, you're not ethnic.
in my life.
You're not ethnic.
Well, yeah, you got nothing
I guess
to
I
prove.
am somehow. I mean,
Well, I got nothing to prove. Me and Joe do. We're ethnic and have something to prove.
Yeah, people think Napoleon complex is just for short guys.
No,
It's for guys with damaged hearts too.
Red hearts.
So I go back in the Wegmans and she's like, I tell her what happened. I'm all like, I'm proud of myself. I think it's like nice that I went and punched this guy's window to teach him a lesson. She goes, I'm sick to my stomach with you. What are you, a psycho? I'm sick to my stomach. I could throw up. We start fighting in the
I'm
Wegmans.
sick to my stomach.
It was my birthday dinner, too. We were there to buy stuff for my birthday dinner. We fought all through the dinner. Do you remember one of those dinners with your parents?
Go.
You just slamming everything the whole time.
My mother had this. My mother had this thing where she would like if she said something she thought was offensive. You know, you whisper stuff. She would whisper everything except for the offensive word. She'd yell the offensive word, like almost like Sam Kinison, like you know, because the people next door are Jews.
That really is a Kinison-like delivery. Ramp up on the punch.
Where the food is. Well, now, is your mother proud of you, though? You're supposed to be proud of you.
Oh, she's tremendously proud.
Right. I mean, you're a great comic. You're successful. She comes see you perform?
Yeah, she comes all the time. In fact, one of the coolest things ever, the coolest thing that's ever going to happen in my comedy career, it was that she's okay now, but she got sick for a while. She had cancer for a while.
Right.
And I moved home for a few months from New York to Philly.
Very nice.
To be with her.
Very uncomedic, unselfish thing to do.
Yeah, it's hilarious how many comics were like, that's amazing that you're doing that. I'm like, oh, this guy's trying to tell me he wouldn't do it. One comic actually said, you should have told everybody you were going to L.A. for 2 months, stupid. What are you telling everybody you went home to take care of your mom for? I'm like, Jesus, these people are sick.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So anyway, I went home and I wrote this whole new hour material when I was there for 2 months, about healthcare. And that's a lot of it's on there actually. And I did some of that stuff when I did my last half hour with Comedy Central, and she was there with my dad at the taping. So after I did all this material about my mom was in the hospital, I got to like throw a camera to her.
Right.
And
That's
then
nice.
I had a joke at the top of the show where I said, I know I'm losing, something's went wrong because my mom doesn't tell me I'm handsome anymore. She just stopped 5 years ago. So when I threw the camera to her, she goes, you're handsome.
Oh, that's nice.
Does the callback, it kills.
Wow, that's great.
She just did it. I didn't tell her to do it.
Right.
She did. And then it was just like this great interaction, and I was just like, that's the coolest thing that's ever going to happen. Like, it really came full circle.
It is nice.
It was nice, man. It was really nice. So they're real happy.
First time my mother saw me on TV, I'm on Mad TV. She's watching a sketch comedy. She sees me, and she goes, the first thing she said, your hair looked horrible. I said, Mom, that was a wig. She sends me, talk about a writer's room filled with, here was the writer's room, 1995. 1995 writer's room at Mad TV. Myself, Patton Oswalt, Rob Cohen. You know who Rob Cohen is?
Yeah, I think so.
And Orlando Jones. And so I get a package from one of the production assistants comes in front of all the writers. It's a package from your mother. I'm like, oh, okay. I pull it out. It's a magenta or a light blue, baby blue vent brush. And a note, it says, give this to the hair person and tell them to use it. I open this up in front of a pack of writers.
That is great. Writer. But was she being funny?
No. No, she wasn't being funny. She was like, I'm gonna go to a hair person, like a major hairstylist who was a gay guy. I'm gonna go, could you use this? You know.
That's great. That's so great though, because we've talked about our love of Albert Brooks before.
Oh, sure.
Your mom is literally it's literally like mother. Yeah, that's so great, man.
Mom, I don't understand. You sent me a vent brush. You can't do that. You can't do that. You said why? The vent brush in front of the doesn't make any sense. No, I'm not using the vent brush. Yeah. That was a wig. Mom, it's a wig.
Mother,
it's a wig. I told you, like, when he was shooting Mother with Debbie Reynolds, it was right next to us doing Mad TV, the same lot.
Yeah.
You know, and he was talking to, like, I was fascinated. I was a big fan of me and the other kid on Mad TV, David Herman. We were, like, trying to, like, figure out how to say hi to him. And every time we walked up to him, he was talking to the assistant directors, exactly like Albert Brooks. He had, like, a rubber band. And he would just go, why can't you do that? Why? I don't understand. Like, what do you mean the lighting's not... I don't understand. We're in show business. It's 1996. I don't get it. I don't get it. Just do it. Why are you not doing it?
I love it. I love it. I love him so much.
Yeah.
I love him so much. I quote all the time the beginning of Modern Romance.
Oh yeah.
We're in a no-win situation. His girlfriend goes, "What's that? You don't know what a no-win situation is? Vietnam, this."
Vietnam, this.
I'll tell you what. Let's order first, and then we'll talk. It's like he's having a business dinner. He's about to dump her. Why don't we get the ordering out of the way, and then we'll talk.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Danny knows Albert Brooks. Don't you know, Dan, you know Albert Brooks?
Isn't it, you've never heard of a no-win situation? I hate to correct you, Joe, but I just love that movie so
Yeah,
much.
it's.
You've never heard of a no-win situation?
Right. I said it wrong. Danny knows
Dan's
everybody.
all over that, yeah. No, he is. He really is the quintessential. He's our link to show business.
Dude, he was. Can I retell one of the?
That's
Can I reference one of the
only
people you
reason-
said you knew in the green room?
Oh,
Was okay?
Artie knows.
The only
Artie
reason-
owes him
the
a-
only reason Dan speaks these stories so they're retold, of course.
We're in the green room. He mentioned Belushi so casually, I thought he must mean Jim Belushi.
Eddie Belushi.
I'm like,
The most
who?
talented living Belushi?
Belushi died owing Dan money.
He told me that.
That's right.
He told me.
Well, how does this subject come up? Do you just say this to the
We were
guests?
talking about Joe Walsh, and I was telling him about the
Another friend of Dan's.
Boschetti, the little games Boschetti and I have been playing.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I was telling him,
I don't know if you just offer this to the guests.
No, we were
Hi,
back
Joe,
there.
good to see you. Great John Belushi story. Sit down.
why were you asking me about Joe Walsh?
I said Joe Walsh was a big party guy, right? Because I had
Yes.
this
Oh, God, yeah.
Dennis Leary punchline stuck in my head, and I couldn't remember the premise. I just remember him going, Joe freaking Walsh,
Oh, right.
okay? And I couldn't remember what the joke was, though. So, yeah. So that's why
What
I
is your
asked
guy,
you.
comedically, what is your guy, you know, a lot, it's a kind of a cliche question for comics, but what is the guy you like to have lunch with, the ultimate guy? Yeah, like one, is there one guy you can point to?
Yeah. I mean, if I could have lunch with George Carlin
Carlin.
or Woody Allen, those would be the two.
Woody Allen.
Yeah, you get to
if
pick
Woody Allen was
three.
open.
Right?
Up three, okay,
You get
go
three.
Yeah, the third, you know, it's got to be Cosby.
Gabrielle Iglesias. Cosby, yeah.
Yes, let me rethink my answer. Kathleen Madigan, Kathy Griffin, followed by Gary Owen.
The second runner-up on Last Comic Standing in '98. I would say, listen, it's tough to argue with Carlin, Cosby, and who was the other guy you said?
Woody Allen, Carlin, or
Yeah,
Cosby.
If they're open, if they're going to be open at the lunch and actually answer questions, I think those guys, like, sometimes they might just not answer you and ignore you.
Well,
Carlin, I met George Carlin once, and he couldn't have been nicer, man.
Yeah.
He was really nice.
Yeah.
And you had a story about Carlin, right?
well, I met him once over the phone.
Right.
He was on my buddy's pod. We talked, and I got this tattoo for him.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But
He was supposed to be legendary for being supportive of the younger comics.
you know Al Lubell?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Very funny guy. He told me a story once. He said he was in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And he was like having a hard time. Like
Right.
something was, he's going through some comedy crisis. And he goes, so, man, and George Carlin, I knew he was in town. And I found out what hotel he was at. And I just called his room.
He said, I'm a comedian and I need some advice?
Yeah, he literally just called his room. And
That's unbelievable.
George Carlin talked to him. He's like, so, well, listen, kid.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, well, he's a good guy. Some guys are. Cosby was like that, too. Did I tell you last time you were here the Norm Macdonald Cosby story? Did I tell you that? Where he called him, like Cosby said, I'll call your father.
I've heard him tell it on Letterman. It's so funny.
Yeah, Cosby said, Norm opened for him, and Cosby said, and Norm said, my father's a big fan of yours. And
Yeah.
Cosby said, where's your father live? And Norm's father's dead. And Norm didn't wanted to go through telling him that story. He goes, oh yeah, he lives in Ontario. He goes, and Cosby goes, next time I'm there, I'll call him. Give me his number. And Norm gives him a fake number with an Ontario area code because he doesn't feel like having that confrontation. It's such a comedian thing. I don't want to get into it with him. He's dead. It's like this game of fake. He's never gonna call.
Right.
So sure enough, Cosby goes to Toronto and calls the number and calls Norm up and hey man, I called your father and the number doesn't work. I need a new number. And Norm goes, well, I'll get that for you. I hung up and I just never talked to him. It's his last exchange with Bill Cosby.
I love the way he does the Cosby in the story too, because he does like this
lame laughs.
It's just like he's pulling out these random words. He's going, the pen for the number of the man. And you're like, yeah, that is the way I imagine Bill Cosby would talk.
Yeah, Cosby's a brilliant like wordsmith in the sense that he can say every third word and convey a thought.
Yes.
Like, he really can.
Yeah, yeah.
He's brilliant, and it makes it funnier.
I got to tell you, too, and I think Norm MacDonald is like that, too.
Yeah.
And I think, like, he's
In
a
a lot of
guy.
ways, yeah.
He's a guy that I always forget that you guys go way back.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends,
Yeah.
comedy-wise. Yeah, sure, for the last 17 years.
I've never met him, but he's another guy I would love to sit down and just like.
You guys didn't mention Richard Pryor for your
yeah, well, he'd be up there.
You know,
He'd be up there.
He would be way up there. You know why I didn't mention him? Because I feel
I'm
like,
talking
could you
about-
sit and talk to Richard Pryor, or would he be like...
Coked up. Well, yeah, the five guys I like to do coke with, he'd be on that one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, there's so many guys. Not so many, but there's a lot of guys who are legends you like to talk to. You know, 5 minutes with Aziz Ansari would be great. You know, just at the cellar, just me and him kicking it.
Just talking about stuff.
Just talking about stuff, some new, maybe a pilot he's doing or producing or something that I could get a read for.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand this reference, Aziz. I've heard,
You know his face.
I've heard.
He's actually a young comic. He's funny.
I've heard.
He's a very successful.
Someone was busting on him. She was busting on him at the roast.
Well, he was in a roast.
We're
So that's what you
listening
do.
to.
You busted a roast.
Yeah, I don't think I do know him.
He's a guy. You know his face. I bet he's been in a lot of stuff. He's very successful.
He's on Parks and Rec.
You ever see Parks and Rec?
He's the Indian guy on
Is that
Parks
show
and Rec.
actually called Parks and Rec?
Oh, got it.
I think so.
It's no rec. It's not the full word.
I think
Parks and Rec.
I think it's the abbreviation.
Amy being very hip. I like
I think it's the full word, Parks
okay.
and Recreation. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that guy.
it. Look, let's not get into an argument about this again.
All right, fine.
I'm not blowing smoke here. You're another guy that you in the few, I feel like, have I known you for 6 months maybe? Right. I feel like in the year to 6 months I've known you, you become one of my absolute favorite guys to talk about comedy with.
Thank
you have like the you have the fandom and the encyclopedia knowledge. It's like you're the kind of guy I like talking about
it's fun.
comedy with.
Well, you are too. I say it's fun to talk to guys like that.
You know?
It is. No, I appreciate that. I feel the same way about you because, you know, I tell you, Norm is that guy. Norm is, if there's one guy to talk about the business with, and like to goof on the business in a way, and guys that you probably mutually hate or love or whatever.
Right.
He's unbelievable at it. You know, it's great.
Can you guys also both did the story about? Please do Can you do some of your Bob Uecker impression?
Well, it's hard. It's funny. It's hard to do a Uecker impression without cursing. He's that filthy. He's that filthy. Like, you know. But we sat in the booth with Uecker during a preseason game in Phoenix. He invited Norm out there, and Norm invited me. And so Uecker would hit the cough button. You know, the cough button being what you hit if you got a cough, and you're not on the air for a second. And he's such an amazing broadcaster. With me and Norm in the booth, I don't know if he was just trying to impress us or something.
Right.
He had the ability to hit the cough button, say something about a hot chick, and then go right back into the game.
Right.
So, and it was just picture this, way filthier. So he would say, like, you know, like, here's a ground ball to short. So look at the cans on that, put over to certain mark. I mean, like, he was like, you know, fly ball to center field. There's some, look at the cans on that. You know, but he was like C-word, and, you know, I mean, I just hit the call button and immediately he's come out. And we would say to him, did you ever accidentally say, he goes, I dropped a couple of F-bombs. Every once in a while the network would call me up. I'm like, F you. I asked him about the show Mr. Belvedere. He goes, did that show for 5 years, didn't realize that guy was a flaming queen, the Belvedere guy. Oh, God. I said, I go, what made you think that? He goes, well, he was a real good cook. Like the thing a guy from the 1950s would think a guy's gay. Guy was a real good cook. So, you know, I mean, what straight guy makes a good linguine?
Oh, my God.
The O2 to Sosa.
Because I didn't grow up watching sports.
Yeah.
But I did grow up watching TV.
Right.
Bob Uecker, to me, was Mr. Belvedere.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I knew him from. So when I heard you tell that story on Letterman,
right,
it was devastating to me. I was like, that guy is a filthy mouth.
Oh, my God. We golfed with him. It was insane. And he, the other, what was it? We had steak dinner with him where he told stories about Sinatra and Don Drysdale. They were all just amazing. One story funnier than the next. And you know, he you know, you ever see him on Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show?
No.
You got to try to Google, go on YouTube, and put Bob Uecker on The Tonight Show. He was one of the best Tonight Show guests.
Really?
He was real subtle. Him and Carson would just have a witty conversation, and he was hilarious. The stories were funny. And he made like acting like after the other. He goes, I don't know what the hell you guys are all bitching about. I did that thing for 6 years. I was a regular. I lived at the Hyatt by the airport. They said, why don't you get an apartment? He goes, I don't want to come in your fruity town. Just give me my check. He goes, the Brewers are playing the Cubs. I got to get out of here. He lived 6 years. Every comedian's dream. Think about every jerk-off annoying actor goes out there and get a sitcom for 6 years. He did it like living at the Hyatt. He wouldn't even go fully into the city. I just send me the script. Send me the stupid lines. I'll learn them. Because this guy Belvedere, during a read-through, season 3, sits on his balls. You hear a loud like, ah! Like, what the hell's your problem? I sat right on his balls.
That is always the way. That's always the way. It's somebody that doesn't care.
He didn't care. The guy's a catcher. But the Cardinals had 14 career homers in Brooklyn. I got on this sitcom for 6 years. I'm still getting checked.
God, I'm such a hip hop fan. I grew up. That's all. Rap music was my rock and roll in the '90s. That was my heavy metal.
Right.
And
How old are you?
I'm 36 now.
Okay, so we got a decade on.
Yeah, I was obsessed with Ice-T. Obsessed. And my friend Rachel Feinstein, very funny comic, was telling me she got to do an episode of Ice Loves Coco, and she's like, where she like helped Ice-T learn how to do stand-up, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? What did you do? I'm like freaking out. She's like, yeah, he was really nice, and yeah. And I'm like,
he guest hosted Mad TV when I was there, and I went up to him and I said, what kind of rapper are you? He went, West Coast. That was the whole conversation.
Oh my God!
But he was great. He was very funny in the sketches. He was real, really a natural.
I met him in college.
Oh, you did?
He came. I met him for 10 seconds. He came to speak at my school. He did a college speaking.
Right.
He used to do that circuit in the '90s after he got in all the trouble with cop killing and all that stuff. Yeah. And he came to my school, and me and my buddy got higher than I've ever been in my life, and we went to see it, and we're just sitting there, and we're really doing it. And I ran around the entire activity center after he left to find the door he came out of. I finally found him, and all these dudes, because I used to rap when I was in college.
Oh, no.
That's what I went to do.
Do you have tape of that?
Oh, yeah, I have tape. I have tape. Whether or not I let you hear it, it's a different story.
It's fine.
So I just wanted to meet him and say, you're the guy that made me want to rap. Literally.
Right.
And I'm like, I finally find the door. He's coming out. He gets swarmed by all these guys. They're all handing him demo tapes and stuff. And he just turns to me. I'm so high. And he looks at me and he goes, what's up, man? And I go, and I just start talking. I go, Ice, man, I don't want to give you a demo tape. I don't want to ask you for any favors. I've been waiting over half of my life to tell you. You made me want to play music, man, and I do it now because of you. And he just goes, all right, man. Well, then go out there and bang some heads, man. And I was like, all right.
Bang some heads. I was thinking about slapping a bitch once, and I didn't until I heard you. You made me slap a bitch.
You put me over the top.
You put me over the top. And he seems like a guy with a sense of humor, because the first roast I ever did for Comedy Central was Hugh Hefner, and he was there, and I did a joke about him, and I thought maybe he'd be mad, but he was like, ah, got me, man, got me. He's very nice about it.
That was the best roast, by the way.
Oh, the Hefner one was fun.
That was the best one
Well,
ever.
that had the legendary Gilbert thing.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break, and we'll be back again. Joe's album is You Will Die. Go get this. Joe DeRosa after this.